Recording. Alrighty. Welcome everyone to our 9th Turf Club meeting for the fall of 2020. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kyle Masters. I am the president of the Penn State Turfgrass Club. And tonight we are joined by our special guest, Mr. Eric Snelsire, who is a Penn State alumni, class of 1999. And Eric will be talking to us tonight about striving for success within the turfgrass industry. So welcome back, Eric, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys, and certainly wish I could be there in person and doing this up in State College, but this is as good as it's going to get, I think, for right now. And I think we're all making these adjustments with COVID. So I appreciate the opportunity. Penn State's near and dear to me, so I'm happy to help any of you guys out. And after this presentation's over, feel free to share my contact information, and if anybody needs some help with internships or just advice, John and I go way back. We actually worked together, went to school together, Dr. Kaminsky, and you guys will have my contact. So happy to help any way I can. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. I'm going to shut my video off just for the sake of saving some bandwidth. Is that okay, Kyle?
Yep, all set.
All right, perfect. All right. So again, the title of my presentation is Striving for Success, and I have success kind of in quotation marks because I think success has a different definition for each of us. And I think it's important for you guys to kind of figure out what success means to you and not allow other people to dictate what that word means and what success in your world means. And I'll kind of go through my story a little bit. My story's been a little bit different in my path to where I've gotten than most, but certainly isn't that different than possibly some of you guys as you guys move through your careers. As we look, here's my resume. I'm a native of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Grew up there and graduated high school in 1995. Attended Penn State in the fall of 95 through 99. Shortly after graduating college, I got married. I've got 3 kids, and I got really an early jump on life. I know at 25 years old, I had gotten my first superintendent's job. I already had a child, was married. So kind of a little bit expedited track for me, which is certainly not the same for everybody else. But my career started really as at a job fair where Larry Napora, who was at Treesdale, came to our high school's job fair and with a setup and with some pictures of golf course, and being on the golf team and having some interest. I think, I went over to the stand just looking out of interest of the golf course, knowing that the new community and golf courses were being built. And, my interest in golf really was sparked during the high school years. I played high school golf, not very well, but I did play on the high school team. And that kind of led me into having the interest in getting into the business. And I just happened to run across Larry, who is also a Penn State grad now. I think he's overseeing the whole Firestone operation there at Firestone Country Club in Ohio. But Larry kind of explained to me the process and that you could go to school for going for turf and working on golf courses, and it really just grabbed my interest. And so from that point on, I just kind of felt like that was it. It was a magical moment in my life where I just kind of was like, wow, I kind of figured out what I wanted to do at a very young age. And I know some people kind of go to college without knowing what they want to do and kind of struggle to find that thing. But I knew very early on in high school that this is what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to pursue. And Larry gave me that opportunity to come out on the golf course and work and kind of show me the ropes and helped me get into Penn State and kind of showed me the way to, get into Penn State and what a great program it was. whatnot. And so you can see my resume. I mean, it is what it is. It's no different than a lot of guys that probably present to you guys as a turf club. You know, I started off at a small little club there in Pittsburgh at Treesdale. Seized an opportunity in 1997 to do an internship for the 97 US Open at Congressional Country Club, and really just fell into a situation that I had no idea how it was going to springboard my career. I ended up working for superintendent there, Paul Latchall Sr., and actually John Kaminsky and I were down there together as interns, and didn't know who Paul Latchall was, and just happened to run into the right job at the right time. Larry Napora, who I'd worked for in Treesdale, worked for Paul Latchall at Oakmont Country Club in the 80s. And when I saw the opportunity to work a US Open, I was like, hey, let's give it a shot. And when my resume had Larry's name on it, Mr. Latchall was like, hey, you're hired, you know. And so I got a break. And not knowing who Latchall was at the time, I just kind of put my nose down, took the internship, worked really hard. It was a great opportunity. And as I started to realize, you know, who Mr. Latchall was and the networking opportunities I had there at Congressional, I realized that, man, I really needed to take advantage of this situation. And so I took a semester off school, stayed at Congressional through the US Open, through the summer, and all the way through the fall. And then Mr. Latchall got hired out at Riviera Country Club in California to prepare for the 98 Senior Open. And I was blessed to have him ask me to go out there and join the staff in California. And I took a leap of faith and took a semester off of school and went out to California and worked at Riviera Country Club. And it was really a springboard for me that basically put me on a path to expedite the process of getting a turf degree, going through as an assistant superintendent, and eventually becoming a superintendent very quickly in comparison to today's standards. And so, you know, I'll kind of go through this. I left after college, or after Riviera. I went back and finished my degree at Penn State. I graduated in '99. I had some things on my list of things to do that I wanted to accomplish, and doing a grow-in was one of them. So I did that. Checked that box off at Reynolds Plantation. I built a golf course as an assistant down there. And then I got married in 2000. My wife ended up getting pregnant on our honeymoon, and we started a family really quickly. And when we were in Georgia, my wife just said, hey, we need to get back closer to home and raise our family back towards Pittsburgh. So I took a job with John Zimmers at Oakmont Country Club, who I'd known through the Congressional and Riviera days and through the Latchall ties. And, you know, it was just a very fortunate spring of events for me. And obviously, you know, I think that helped springboard my career into being a superintendent at Links at Lighthouse Sound in 2002. Paul Latchall ended up being a consultant at that location after he had retired from being a superintendent. He became a consultant and helped me get the job at Lighthouse Sound. And then I kind of made my name for myself once I got that job, and worked down there for 14 or 15 years, and got to a point where between my family situation and just my personal career goals that I wanted to do something different. And this job with Bayer opened up in 2016, and I interviewed, and I ended up, you know, getting the job, and, you know, a lot because of my experience and participation, but just an interesting turn of events for me in my career and in my path to what I would say a successful career thus far. I mean, certainly have had, like most careers, had ups and downs, but certainly just an interesting path in my mind to get where I am today. And it's unique. So, you know, to kind of give you a little bit idea of Bayer, just a little bit of background, I want to take a few minutes here to give you an idea of who Bayer is. So Bayer is a chemical manufacturer of insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, but in the grand scheme, they have 120,000 employees worldwide. They're a manufacturing company of pharmaceuticals. Everybody probably recognized the Bayer pill with Bayer aspirin. We're very big in crop science. We bought an even bigger company to make our company even bigger. We bought Monsanto and Roundup business, which has certainly put us in the news with some controversial issues around Roundup and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that you guys may be aware of. And so we're a giant agriculture company. We're a giant pharmaceutical company. We have a animal health division. We've got a consumer goods division, and it's just a really big company. And one of the divisions within Bayer is this environmental science. And that's the division with which I work for the turf and ornamental division. And this is our motto here, is that we're trying to foster healthy environments where we live, work, and play. And I think all of you guys that have worked in sports turf or worked in golf courses can kind of relate to that. It expands a little bit more into some different sectors of the world. Our environmental science business talks about pest control and public health, whether it's bed bugs, cockroaches, and termites and whatnot in the restaurant industry. So we have that part of our environmental science business, We have vector control. So worldwide, we're providing, mosquito control products around the world to help prevent some of these really important diseases that are impacting the world and people's health. We've got vegetation management division that handles roadsides and forestry and power lines and pastures and railroads and all that goes on. And then there's the division that I work in, which is this turf and ornamentals division. And we're really focused on home lawns, golf courses, parks and recs, athletic fields. And then we have this whole ornamental division that deals with greenhouses and ornamental production, which is growing year in and year out. So it's a really big company, and it's almost overwhelming when you start thinking about how big this company is that I work for. This is the team that I work with. Eric Lentz is my boss. He's based in Raleigh. Our environmental science division is based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I reside in Ocean City, Maryland. I've got 8 counterparts that cover the north. We have a south region with guys in my role down in the south. We have a west region, and a lot of these guys have years of experience either as golf course superintendents or in sales. And I feel really blessed to be able to join a team with so much talent. And then to go even one step further, we've got, Bayer has this green solutions team that's really focused on the golf industry and turf science. And all of these guys that you see on your screen are all PhDs. They all provide advanced technical support. They help with some of the trials that go on at the various universities throughout the country. They help kind of compile all of the information of products that we have coming to market, and try to work with cooperators like John Kaminsky when we do have new products coming to market to try to get some research studies done and get that data back to the company. So really good company, a really good team. And I'm really blessed to kind of be part of that. And I wanted to introduce those guys to you and kind of introduce Bayer to you guys, because I know some of you guys may not know who Bayer is, but for the sake of the golf and landscape business and sports turf industry, these are some of the products that we sell that may look familiar to you. I know Merritt's been in the grub business for a very long time. I've got a claim for crabgrass control and a lot of herbicides in the south for warm season turf. We've got a number of fungicides that you guys may recognize. Chipco Signature has been around for 20 plus years in the industry and is a staple in a lot of the greens programs that are going on in the north and certainly in the mid-Atlantic area where I am. And so we've got a 45 plus products that we offer in the golf market. And I'm responsible. My role with Bayer is basically to provide technical and product support for Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia to our distributors and to all the golf course superintendents and lawn care operators that have any questions. And so primarily my job is to help grow sales in that region for our products, but really a lot of my time is spent focusing on questions that the customers, the superintendents, assistant superintendents, the lawn care operators may have regarding our products. So I spend a lot of time on that. And then this time of year, we're really working on our early order program where a lot of the golf courses are buying products right now for next year. And that accounts for about 50% of our annual sales happens in the month of October. So October is a busy month for us in the sales. And so, but the whole premise of my talk is I started talking to Kyle and trying to figure out what I wanted to present was, really what success looks like. And I mentioned it earlier in my presentation, is that success really is different for each of us. And when I look at this picture, this is really the pinnacle of golf course maintenance here. This is Oakmont Country Club in 2007. We've got, Paul Latchall and John Zimmers, who you see in the picture there down on the, two of the world's best superintendents, in my opinion, walking one of the best golf courses in the country, in the world. And this is really the pinnacle of golf course maintenance here. And a lot of people make the mistake, in my opinion, to think that you have to be at this level to have success. And I guess depending on what your goals are as a golf course superintendent or as a person, maybe this is the pinnacle of what you're trying to achieve. And there's really nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with, having goals that are different than being at Oakmont Country Club, because the Oakmont Country Clubs and the John Zimmers and the Paul Latchalls of the world are very unique. And they're very rare to get those types of opportunities. And you really have to have a different level of dedication and make a lot of sacrifices to get to this point. But, my point is that you've got to figure out for yourself what defines success for you. And for the longest time, I'll be honest with you, in my mind, for myself, that I thought this is what I would consider success for my career. And so the early part of my career, as you've seen from my resume, was focused on really high-end clubs, working my tail off, working lots of hours, missing out on lots of opportunities, maybe to be with friends or family functions, in an effort to try to build my brand to get to this level. And that's where I was kind of early on in my career. I thought, this is where I wanted to be. And, when you start looking at other professions, whether it's professional sports or college sports, and you look at the people that are champions at the highest level, right? And I compare Oakmont Country Club to any of these guys, and Bill Belichick, as much as I hate him as a Steelers fan, these guys are at the top of their industry. And a lot of people, including me, fall into this pitfall of kind of assuming that you have to be at this level to be what I would say, quote unquote, successful. And I think that's a really bad comparison, because not all of us are wired like this. And it really, it takes a different level of success. And this level of success comes certainly with a price tag, and it comes with great sacrifice. And I don't care if you're the head coach of the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, or you're the CEO of a company. If you want to be at the top, it takes tremendous sacrifice, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. But you have to understand that it comes with tremendous sacrifice. It comes with a tremendous amount of effort, and it's going to come with a tremendous amount of pressure along the lines. And if you're wired, and your DNA, the way that you're wired can handle that and you're okay with that, then I think trying to shoot for the level of an Oakmont Country Club or a Marion or a Caves Valley or what have you, you name the top 100 club, you just have to understand that that level of commitment is different than just showing up every day. And it's not an 8 hour a day, 40 hour a week job, because none of these guys, whether it's, a head coach in the NFL or a CEO of any company that's successful, none of those guys are working 40 hours a week, right? They're working countless hours. They're making countless sacrifices. And I think it's important for you to realize that, while it's great to have the notoriety of being at the top and being at one of these top clubs or being at, the top, coach at one of these programs in this, scenario here, is that it just comes with a price and you have to be willing to make that sacrifice. And so, the question I have for you, are you capable, for one? Are you wired to be able to put in that type of effort, and are you willing? And for a long time I was, and I look at my own career, and I was I think John could attest to the hours we put in preparations for the US Open in 1997. There was nothing short of 110 hour weeks in some cases, and so you just have to understand the commitment level that it takes to be at the top. And if you're willing to make those sacrifices and make that commitment, then let's set a plan in place to get there. But being at Oakmont not being at Oakmont and being at another club, and for a lack of a better word, let's say a middle of the road club or a middle class club in a suburban area, doesn't mean that you're not successful. And I think what you need to understand is, what is your definition of success? And so the one thing that I will tell you is that, and I think this is no secret, but success is never owned, right? It's rented, and the rent's due every day. And especially when you're at the highest level and you're trying to achieve success at really at any level, it's work. You can't take a day off, right? You've got to work on building, working on your dreams, working on your golf course in the world that we're in golf course maintenance. But it's every day. You don't get a day off. And if you want to be at the top, then you've got to be willing to grind. And that's really tough. And so now that you guys are in school, you guys are in levels, and John, you may have guys that are in various stages of their careers, and maybe some of these guys are working on a second career here in turfgrass science. But really, to me, I look back in my own career and what I was trying to achieve in college and the stages that you guys were at, that you're at right now, is that you're trying to gain this agronomic knowledge, right? I mean, that's the base of your success coming down the roads, and understanding the science behind what we're doing out on the golf course or sports turf fields. And what goes along with those is that you've got to start really thinking about it goes well beyond growing grass. And I'm sure John and all your professors there at Penn State tell you that, honestly, growing grass becomes the easy part of the job when you're a golf course superintendent. It's all these other things that get put on you as a golf course superintendent that really take the time and really separate guys from being successful in managing people to get jobs done, to get the golf course into the conditions with which the members or customers expect. But you have to have all of these skill sets. And really, for you guys, you're kind of just tippy-toeing your way into the agronomic knowledge, the field experience through internships. But beyond that, you have a long road ahead of you to learn and expect to learn the business skills, budgeting, people management, human resources, the leadership skills. I mean, we could go on for several classes just on leadership skills and the ability to develop leadership and what that means in a successful business, whether it's a golf course or a private industry. People skills, how to deal with people. For the longest time, one of the things that I focused so much on was my work ethic. Being in Pittsburgh, I'm blue collar kind of guy. I felt like I could outwork anybody, right? And my work ethic was as good as anybody that I would ever work with, and I would certainly put in whatever effort it needed. But sometimes the work ethic just wasn't good enough because I needed to develop some of these other skills, team building. You know, in today's market, I don't know if Tyler Bloom has been talking to you guys yet, but in our market, in the golf course industry and landscape industry, building a team is probably the hardest thing to do in today's labor market. And if you don't have the ability to build a team, have good culture in your operation and your business, and be able to recruit top talent, train people, then you're going to fail because you can't do this business by yourself. And I think that's a really important lesson. I thought for the longest time, as long as I worked hard, other people would follow me. And, before you know it, everybody would work as hard as I do. And the fact of the matter is, guys, is that not everyone is wired the same. Not everybody has the same work ethic, right? And I'm sure you see that even within the operations that you've worked in, or even in the classroom. Not everybody has the same drive. Not everybody has the same skill sets. And so when you're trying to build a team, and you're in charge of a program or an operation, you know, team building becomes what you spend a lot of time on, and it's an everyday thing. And then on top of that, I mean, I think all of us want to have family, we have our faith, and we want to have some fun along the way. It just can't always be about work. And I think that sometimes gets lost in the translation, is especially at the top end clubs, that you know there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make to be at those top end clubs, and so you have to be willing to make those sacrifices, and some of that comes at the cost of family. Sometimes it costs your faith, and sometimes it costs you going out and having fun. And so I just think that it's important for you guys to understand that, while the agronomic knowledge is kind of where you're tippy toeing your way into and really getting, and you need that agronomic base, but there's all these other skill sets that you're going to have to learn in order to be successful as managers. And so that's kind of the base of where you guys are right now, and trying to set up a program, select internships where you're getting these opportunities and being able to work with people that are willing to share with you, and not just throwing you on a weed eater to get the work done. You're trying to build your career here, and it started well before tonight's presentation and your onset into Penn State, is that you've got to keep working and you got to set a plan in place. But I wrote down a couple things here that I thought were really important on the left. And first and foremost, I think one of the most important things you can understand or try to do for yourself to help set yourself up for success is identify and understand who you are as a person. And this took a long time for me to understand who I was as a person and what that meant and where my weaknesses were and where I needed to build, not just in agronomic knowledge, but all these other skill sets. Growing up the way I grew up, put a different perspective on life for me. And so each of us are different. And so you really need to understand who you are and how you're wired, and start to set some goals for yourself and develop a plan to get to where you want to go. And sometimes that those goals change. The plan certainly changes, and I think you look at a year like this year, we've been forced to change because of COVID-19 this year. If you're not willing to change this year, then you're probably failing, and probably really unhappy right now. But change is inevitable. But you need to go out there and set goals for yourself. You have to develop a plan. Learning never stops, guys. I know that you think it after 4 years of education, and a few years of experience out in the field, you're going to be ready to be a golf course superintendent. It's going to take a little bit more than that. And I think developing the skill sets, developing the experience is all part of that. But understanding your weaknesses and your strengths and all that is also part of the process in order to get that success that you're looking for. I talk about the embrace the 3Ms, and I'll cover that in a minute. The 3Ms are, to me, a really big part of having success in life, not just as a golf course superintendent, but in life. And I'll cover those in a second. But the biggest thing here, and I think our society has beat this into us, is fear of failure. I know for the longest time working for Paul Latchall and John Zimmers, and even when I got on to be a superintendent myself, my biggest fear was failing because I was afraid I was going to let somebody down. I was afraid to let Paul Latchall down. Like I was trying to be somebody, I was trying to be the next Paul Latchall or the next John Zimmers. And the reality is that until I realized that I needed to be the next, the first Eric Snelsire, and that meant me being who I was and building my own brand, not trying to be somebody I wasn't. And so, in that process, being okay with failure, because failure is really how we learn in life. And I tell my kids this, I've got 3 kids, and it sounds kind of counterproductive, but I encourage those guys to fail, because if they're not trying and they're not failing, then they're not learning. And I really do believe that, and you'll hear that a lot in the business world too, is that a lot of successful business guys fail 7 to 10 times before they have a successful business. And so you can't be afraid of failure, and you almost have to embrace failure and take those opportunities when you do fail as learning opportunities. And then again, I think I skipped this, but seeking out opportunity and mentors. I think I mentioned when I was coming through the Penn State program, I was flipping through some charts. Excuse me, my phone was ringing. But
Eric, we might have lost your sound. I don't know what's going on.
I was flipping through opportunities and I saw that congressional thing. I just thought, man, what a great opportunity. And I made a phone call. I went after it. And then realized at the time that Paul Latchall, who, once I got down there to work for him, that, hey, this is a guy that could mentor me and he could really help my career. And boy, did that pay off, right? I mean, I rolled the dice. I end up winning in that scenario. But seek out opportunities, guys. I mean, you guys are young. I know each of your circumstances may dictate what you can and cannot do and where you're willing to travel and where you're not willing to travel. But if you set together a plan for what you think your career wants, what you want your career to be like, and what success looks like for you, find those opportunities and the mentors that can help you get to that point. So when I talk about the three M's, and when I look at, I've become kind of a student of successful people. I do a lot of reading. If you ever read a book like Stephen Covey's got the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there's a number of other great business books out there, but you kind of start to understand why people are successful. And this was kind of one thing that I've taken from a lot of the stuff I've read is the 3 M's. Is learn how to manage your time, there's not a successful business guy out there or woman that's out there that doesn't manage their time and their money, right? So, if you want to be successful, you got to be able to manage your time. You got to manage your money. You've got to master a routine, whatever that routine, every successful person has a routine. I know every day I kind of have a routine that I try to get through to make sure that I'm checking all the boxes, doing what I need to do for both my family, but also for work, but also being efficient with my time and being able to be the best, sales representative I can be, the best dad I can be, the best, husband, but, comes with mastering a routine to try to make my time efficient. And then really having this idea of making an impact on a daily basis, waking up with a burning desire to make an impact on the world or in your world, whether it's in somebody's life or, as a business or on the golf course, making an impact. And one of the statements that I take with me, and I actually share this with my kids, is that, if your presence doesn't make an impact, your absence won't make a difference. And that's a really powerful statement to me. And I think it goes a long way when you start thinking about successful people, whether it's in business, whether it's in golf, your presence needs to make an impact. If it doesn't, your absence just doesn't make a difference, right? Whether or not you're there or not. So make sure that if you're going to be present, that you're making an impact in whether it's your golf course operation, whether it's in your classroom, whether it's on a team, have an impact on a daily basis. And I think if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you're moving forward in your career, the 3 M's can be something that kind of helps springboard you towards that success. Kyle, can you hear me all right still?
Yep, we're all set.
Cool. So one of the things that I talk about a little bit in my scenario, and each of us have circumstances, right? And everybody's circumstances are kind of different in a lot of cases. But, when you think about all the different circumstances, I look at circumstances or things that are kind of out of your control, right? And whether they're family obligations, maybe you're going through a divorce or a breakup, or maybe on the golf course you're dealing with weather or natural disaster, or somebody in your family lost a job. In my case, I look back and you look at my circumstances coming out of high school. I don't share this a lot with a lot of people, but coming through high school, my parents, my mom died when I was 13 years old. I got into a foster family, basically grew up on welfare. I was the first person ever to attend college out of my whole family. Those were circumstances, right? And some things that I couldn't control. But what I could control were these things. And each of us, I think this is the important thing that my message for you guys is that, you can't control what you can't control, right? The circumstances, there are a lot of things out of your control. We look at COVID-19, a great example this year, a lot of things being put out of our control. But what we can control is our effort, our attitude, our work ethic, our preparation on a daily basis, whether it's for work or for school, our appearance, how we treat people, how we respond to these adversities that we face with in our life, how we serve, how we lead. These are all things that we can control. And when you go back to the 3 M's, right, all of those things you control. And so if you can focus on the things that you can control and not really focus on your circumstances, then, you can have success. And you're not going to use those circumstances as excuses for why you can fail or why you're failing or why you can't do something, right? I kind of alluded to this, right? The first part of my life, growing up in welfare, those are some pretty tough circumstances. I could probably had a very small percentage chance of getting out of my little town of Evans City to go be as successful as I've been. right? But I didn't allow my circumstances to dictate who I was or where my success was going to be. And in the same in the same token, you know, you have to take a mindset that, I'm not a product of my circumstances, that I'm a product of my decisions, and take ownership of those decisions. And I think if you can do that day in and day out, not make excuses for yourself, and control the things that you can control, then you will find success, because you're going to be focused. You're going to be controlling things that are in your control. And I think that's a really important message that I wanted to kind of push on to you guys. And again, my path, certainly you guys saw kind of my path that I took to throughout my career, but that's my path, and your path is yours. Don't compare it to others. Everyone's journey and timeline and gifts and constraints, obstacles, triumphs are different. Don't look to the left or right. Just keep working within yourself. Look up and look forward, and don't allow other people to dictate what success means to you guys. And because your path is going to be different than the guy next to you, and next to him. And if you look just to, a couple guys on the call today, my path to get to where I am with Bear has certainly been different than John's path to get where he is with Penn State.
You still there?
Yep. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's coming back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But you look at John's path to get to where he wanted to be and where he is today, and my path. We both started in similar places at Penn State, right? Granted, our socioeconomic situation, circumstances were probably different going to college, but in the same token, each of us have found success, in my mind, just in drastically different paths. And the same is true for each of you guys on this call tonight. So, to me, success starts with having a plan. It starts with understanding yourself, developing some goals for yourself. And I think if you can try to understand who you are as a person, what your identity is, what that name on the back of your jersey, so to speak, means to you, and what you want people to remember you as, and you wake up every day with that in mind, and act accordingly to understand who you are, how you want people to identify you. I think that goes a long way to your success as a person, and no matter what industry you're in. Identify what your strengths are. I think it's important for you to understand what your strengths are, as well as your weaknesses, right? And when you start to understand who you are, you can start to understand some of your weaknesses and strengths, and start and surround yourself and build a team of people, mentors, friends, family around you to help you achieve those goals that you're setting for yourself. Understanding where you want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. 20 years is a long way. In some of your minds, 5 years might be a long way. And understand that, those goals, or that kind of where you're heading, could change because circumstances, right? And but understanding where you want to go, having a plan, setting goals, and understanding how you're going to be able to get there, developing that plan, how you're going to get there, and start working towards that. And again, identifying those mentors in our industry, unlike so many, the golf industry is really strong in relationships and mentors and influencers. And you hear it all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's really true, but you have to know what you're doing, but you do have to know some people. But there are a lot of great people out there that are in our industry, and it's unlike anything that you'll see in any other industry in the world, where people will share information and willing to help you achieve your success. So it happens all the time as golf course superintendents. Superintendents share information every day with their neighbors, trying to help each other, even though they might be competitors in terms of their clubs. So when we go back to kind of my example of who I am, we talked about the early part of my life, when I went to Penn State, um, I started to develop a plan from my freshman year, and I realized what my weaknesses were. I realized that I had a lot of experience that I needed to gain. I needed to get the basic agronomic education on a golf course, which is why I went to Treesdale. I wanted to have a major championship experience because I felt like down the line that would become experience. So that's why I went to Congressional and it carried over to Riviera. One of the goals I had as a student was to do a grow-in and irrigation installation, and that's why I chose to go to Reynolds Plantation. And then Oakmont Country Club got the opportunity to get to a top 100 club, do an irrigation project, do a major renovation project, and really work for somebody there that was a mentor that was going to help build my my skill sets to prepare me to be a superintendent on my own. And I was fortunate, I worked hard. I kept my nose to the ground. I did what I was supposed to do. Took opportunity as they came through, and but I had a plan, and the plan was gain valuable experience, and that's what you guys are trying to do right now with your internships. You're trying to get that valuable experience. You're trying to develop relationships. John and I were talking earlier. 23 years ago, John and I worked together at Congressional Country Club. We are still friends and still develop those relationships from 23 years ago that we still have today. And these guys that you're working with, the relationships that you build, you become a family. But you're also building your brand. One of the things I focused on very early on in my career as a student was I wanted to have my own brand. Obviously I was working for Paul Latchall and John Zimmers, and that came with kind of a reputation as it was, but it got to the point where I needed to build my own brand and build who Eric Snelsire was. Not, I didn't want to be John Zimmers. I didn't want to be the next Paul Latchall. I wanted to be Eric Snelsire. And then, as things happen, circumstances change. In my case, I got married. I ended up having a kid really quickly. So my responsibilities changed, right? And it became very obvious to me that once I had a child, that trying to chase that dream of being at a US Open or a top 100 course was going to be a lot more difficult, that I wasn't willing as a person to make some of the sacrifices with my family life to be able to contribute to that level of success or that level of golf course maintenance. And so my goals changed probably around 2002, 2003. I had a young child. I ended up having another one in 2005. And so, those things changed kind of my goals and my perspective on where I wanted to be and what my success looked like. And so for you guys, you're at this early stage in your careers, and you need to be thinking about, where can I gain valuable experience? Where can I start building these relationships and working towards these goals that I hope that you can start to build if you haven't already. Because again, your path is going to be different than mine. It's going to be different than your buddies. And each of your paths are individual. So just keep that in mind. And I think at the end of the day, the message here is that there's no secret to success. It's a result of preparation, hard work, and learning from your failures. This is a great message from Colin Pyle. But I think there's a lot of truth to this, and especially in the golf industry. You've got to be willing to work hard. You're going to put a lot of time and effort, physical effort, mental effort, make a lot of sacrifices to get to where you want to be. And it's an awesome industry. One of the reasons why I chose a career with Bayer is that I really didn't want to leave the golf industry. I had spent 20 years building my brand in the golf industry, and my closest friends are all in the golf industry. I have a lot of friends outside, obviously, in my local community, but my closest friends are guys that I've worked with, or alongside, or have become friends with through through being in the golf industry. And so that was really important to me, that I stayed in the golf industry. And this Bayer job has been a great fit for me to get out there and continue to intermingle and build those relationships with the people in our industry. It's a small fraternity, even though there's thousands of golf courses throughout the U.S. Everybody kind of looks out for each other, and that's really unique. You just don't find that in a lot of industries in the business world. So you're in a great industry. You're getting ready to start a career in a great industry, and I encourage you guys to enjoy the ride. Just understand that if you want to have quote unquote success, you've got to figure out what that means for you, and start developing your plan. So kind of in closing here, I just wanted to share with you guys a couple books that were big influencers on me. I've read a lot of these books several times, but this is Coach Wooden. I'm a big sports guy, so a lot of stuff that I kind of lean towards is sports oriented. I think a lot of you guys probably can relate to that in our world today. But this is a great book if you ever get a chance to read this. And these are two really good books. I read these in college actually, and these were really good books to just start getting your brain thinking about leadership and things that successful people do, and things that you can learn from other people, and in an effort to try to improve yourself. And this is a really interesting program here. This is Fred Pryor Seminars. I actually am a member of this career track, and they offer hundreds of different seminars, from learning how to do Excel, leadership training. I mean, you name it. This company can do a training, and you can do it online, or you can go to in-person seminars. So here's another really good resource as you're trying to further develop your skills, your business skills. I know sometimes you get into a golf course scenario and you're either an intern or an assistant in training, and the superintendent may not be as willing to share with you some of the budgeting and things, but you can get what you need if you're willing to put through a little bit of effort and go through some of these trainings here. So this is a really good one. And I'm sure Penn State has a ton of resources that John can put you towards. But, I don't want to get too much into leadership, but as you guys start to develop your careers, at the end of the day, you're going to start leading people, right? And it may start on a small scale with small leadership crews that you're running, and eventually you're going to become a golf course superintendent or a manager of a team. And the best thing advice that I can tell you is that good leaders provide clarity to the team, and they provide vision. They provide a mission, clarity on what the mission is, what those expectations are, and then holding people to certain standards. And if you can get to yourself to a point where you've got the experience and you've got to start to develop some of these skills, and you can put yourself in a scenario to be in a leadership position, these are the type of things that you need to think about if you want to be a great leader. And I think each of you guys all have the ability to do that, but it is not easy, and it takes work, and you really can't take a day off, when it comes to this type of stuff in terms of yourself and your responsibilities. Again, kind of in wrapping up here, success is different for everyone. These are my kids when they were a little bit younger. I was blessed to have a great golf course superintendent career and work for a single owner at a public facility that allowed me the opportunity to coach baseball with these guys, spend a lot of time with them, gave me the opportunity to go to Penn State games, gave me an opportunity to participate as a member of the GCSAA. Here I'm the president of the Eastern Shore chapter, giving back $10,000 from our chapter back to a local charity. Did a lot of stuff locally with our local chapter. And I chose that, the job at Glen Riddle and Lighthouse Sound allowed me to do that, right? Had I been at an Oakmont Country Club or a really high-end private club, I probably wouldn't have the time or opportunity to do some of these things. So this is what, was important to me, was more than just being a golf course superintendent that I had. I didn't want to be defined as being a golf course superintendent. That's not who I was. That I had a bigger mission in life to serve and give back. And certainly I've had some great opportunities coaching kids in baseball, playing golf. These are all golf course superintendents. Going to golf course shows and building these relationships and friendships that I'll have forever and continue to build new ones. And so, it's awesome. It's an awesome industry. I've had a great career. It's still going. It's changed directions a little bit now that I'm with a major company like Bayer, and I'm not necessarily in the grind of getting up at 5 o'clock every morning to be at the golf course. But boy, do I love the people within the golf industry, and the golf industry has been great to me, and it's really provided me to have a lot in my mind, a successful life to this point. And I think that's important. My message to you guys is that not everybody's path is the same, and not everybody's definition of success is the same. So don't think you need to be at Oakmont Country Club or one of these top 100 courses to have a successful career. Is that there's a lot of opportunities that Penn State's going to provide to you, and as long as you work hard and start thinking about what you want for yourself. So I want to stop there. I know I kind of ran through a lot of that without much of a pause. This is my email and phone number. It's my cell phone number. Any questions or comments that you guys may have? Anybody there?
I'm here. I'm going to stop sharing your screen so we can maybe see everybody again. Is that all right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Eric, I just had a quick question. I didn't know if I know you just stopped screen sharing, but there's a slide in there where you're talking about the good leaders and like the five key parts of that.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know if you could go over that really quick one more time. It was in like I think the third to last slide before the pictures.
Yeah, bear with me. Let me just get back to it.
I see Pete's iPhone. I didn't realize it was the Pete, the one and only Pete.
Yeah. So the number one job for a leader is to provide clarity to his team, right? And I think, I can relate to this a lot. And I think a lot of us in our own mind's eye, when we're looking at how to attack, let's just say, a project or how we want something to run, that in our mind, we know exactly how it's going to go down, right? And we're going to go out there and we're going to be in the trenches, and we're going to kind of be there. Most of us will be in the trenches trying to show our team exactly what our expectations or what we're going to do. And what I failed to do as a leader a lot of times, especially early on as a superintendent, is create that clarity to everybody. I saw it clearly in my mind, but I never communicated it well enough at times to my team, whether it was my assistants, whether it was all the way down to the guy raking bunkers, right? Is that, trying to provide clarity on what the vision of why we're doing what we're doing, how are we going to get there? The expectations that I have for us as a team, for you as an employee. Sometimes we just in our own mind's eye, we think that everybody sees it the same way that we do, and that's just not the case. And good leaders really are able to provide that clarity to their team from the top all the way down to the bottom. And in clubs and businesses that have great culture, it goes beyond just the team that you lead. It goes throughout the organization. And but it starts here, having a vision, a mission, setting the expectations and standards, having those standards, and then every day waking up with that same, so that everybody's working towards a common goal. So to me, that's what I've seen, not only from a business standpoint, but you look in the coaching profession, and you look at guys that organizations that have great culture. It all starts there, having clarity.
Landon, did you have a question, Landon? Because you had your camera on. I didn't know if that was you wanting to ask a question.
I've got a question, Eric.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Pete Went. How are you?
Oh shit! What's up, Pete?
Hey, I was just surfing Twitter when I got home and I saw this Zoom meeting, and I just have to tell you, I don't have a question really, more than I have to tell you that was a fantastic talk. I hope you'll give it to my team here in the next couple weeks. I think it's so important. And I got to tell you, I mean, getting to know you over the years, and we kind of crossed paths back in the congressional days, way back in the 90s, and you're a super successful person. You're a great friend in the business. And, I just think, like you said, success comes in many different forms. But for me, I mean, I measure success, how great of a father are you? How great of a person are you? And you check those boxes great. And then you're amazing in your career as well. And you're a great resource to all of us. So, I just wanted to say that.
Oh, thanks. That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate you joining the call today.
For those who don't know, that's Pete Went.
Yeah.
For those who don't know Pete, he is the head honcho at Congressional doing the renovation. So, and a graduate of the program back in the day.
Hell yes.
Pete, I've actually got my congressional shirt that my friend Ryan Hiles got me.
Looking good, buddy. Looking good. Like to see that. Well, look, I hope all you guys have a great night. And Eric, great talk again. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining.
See you, pal.
See you.
Yeah, thank you. To wrap things up here, thank you, Eric, for talking to us. There's a lot of good information that sometimes we're not always exposed to, but a lot of good points about success and defining it and building your leadership. With that being said, I hope that if there's, well, first, are there any questions last minute before I end this recording?
Eric, welcome to Zoom life, where nobody ever unmutes themselves and hides behind us, no video and a name.
Well, I saw an interesting video while I was presenting there. It got my attention.
Yeah, I wasn't able to see it. I was only able to see your screen, and
I saw it and I deleted it immediately without even looking to see who it was. But Kyle will be able to go back through the thing. Those kinds of things are like real serious at Penn State, and I'm sure with Bayer too. Yeah. It gets reported all the way up to the FBI. So I don't know who it was or if they'll be able to figure it out. But it's no joke. So yeah.
Well, hopefully, John, that covered a topic that you guys haven't heard before. And if you ever need anything from me in any way that I can help any of these students find internships, I'm very, very blessed. I'm in a territory that has some great golf courses here in Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia. And there's some great golf course superintendents. Pete Went being, top of the list at Congressional. But there's a ton of great guys, that you can latch on to learn from. And I think that's one of the coolest things about our industry. They're across our country, and it's a great business. So, keep up the hard work, guys. I know it's been a challenge this year with COVID and trying to get your education in. I'm sure working and finding internships isn't that easy either, but I can tell you the industry needs you guys to get your degrees and get out there and get assistance, because the industry needs a ton of good assistant superintendents, and eventually superintendents are going to retire, and you guys are going to fill those roles eventually. So
thank you. Thank you, Eric. With that being said, we will end the recording.